One of the best, but also rarest countries for roller coasters is China. China has the most roller coasters out of any country in the globe, but it's very hard to take videos or ride anything there. That's why a lot of great Chinese coasters remain under the radar. Today, we'll be looking at one of the insane Chinese roller coaster creations. This is the best coaster you've never heard of, Starry Sky Ripper. I have to admit, this title is a little clickbaity. Some people might have heard of this ride, especially if you're a periodic watcher of the top 100 roller coaster lists. But this video was pretty difficult to make as there were just so many other good coasters under the radar. So if you want to see a part 2, make sure to leave a like. Let's jump into the layout of Starry Sky Ripper. Starry Sky Ripper opened at Joyland in China back in 2011. The park is located in Changzhou, China, about 100 miles from Shanghai. The park is located at the perimeter of the city limits in a beautiful valley, which is observable on Starry Sky Ripper. Starry Sky Ripper is one of 3 coasters in the park, the other being a sky loop dubbed Clouds of Fairyland, and a family coaster called Dragon Roaring Heaven. Starry Sky Ripper is the largest coaster and is located in the very back corner of the park. Let's dive in. The ride is dispatched from the station and immediately enters the flying position. That's right, Starry Sky Ripper is a B&M flying coaster, a model where riders lay on their stomachs facing the earth. Visitors climb up to a height of 131 feet, or about 40 meters. Riders then experience one of the steepest flying coaster drops, almost flipping riders onto their heads before exiting into a rather sharp valley for a flyer. This is where the ride reaches its maximum speed of 54.7 miles per hour, or about 88 kilometers per hour. After the descent, the ride enters a high and steep overbank turn that gives riders a good view of the surrounding mountains and forests. After this graceful turn, the ride enters 2 of the most insane elements in a row. The train rises and flips to the right, almost the same version of Steel Vengeance's incline roll. The train flips back to normal at the apex of the hill, back in the flying position, before flipping 180 degrees downwards, basically a half of an Iron Gwazi's death roll. That means in about 2 seconds, the train goes from flying to lying to flying to lying again. But the insanity isn't done. Before riders can even catch their breath, they enter a foggy tunnel that leads into a vertical loop. This is a version of a pretzel loop on the ride. Instead of starting flying and diving down, Starry Sky Ripper starts lying and rises to the max height, where riders face the tunnel they just went through. At the end of the element, riders flip back onto their backs with intense G's pushing on their stomach. These 2 back-to-back features make for one of the most frightening coaster experiences out there. After this insane loop, the ride takes a unique, almost outer bank transition back into the flying position, while also turning the train around. This leads past a water feature to a very tight and whippy overbank turn into the finale of the ride. The return run of Starry Sky Ripper is 2 back-to-back corkscrews, similar to the ending of Batwing and the now-defunct Firehawk. But because this is a B&M creation, these ending rolls will be smooth and graceful, causing a constant rotation the whole way through. The ride then enters a super tight helix, causing some intense positives on the flying position before concluding the ride. Starry Sky Ripper is certainly one of, if not the wildest flying coaster in the world. Let's jump into 6 different categories fitting the ride to dissect Starry Sky Ripper's strengths and drawbacks. Our first category is the drop. Starry Sky Ripper's drop is one of the only straight drops on a flyer, and it is a very unique drop. Because the drop doesn't bend, riders are nearly flipped onto their heads while descending, generating some hang time in the front cars. The drop will get a 7 out of 10. The pacing category is up next. Starry Sky Ripper is by no means a swift ride. The ride is pretty drawn out with a few tighter elements. The beginning and the end of the ride are paced well, but in between the rolls and the loop, it dies a little bit. Pacing will be getting a 6 out of 10. Up next is transitions. Flying coasters usually have some graceful transitions, and Starry Sky Ripper is no different. The ending rolls into the helix is a very graceful transition, along with the 2 overbank turns. However, one feature breaks this rule. That is the double fly-to-lie, also known as the crazy upward and downward rolls before the loop. These are some very snappy transitions that speed up and slow down as the element goes on, causing a smooth but disorienting and whippy experience. Transitions have a good mix, so they will get an 8 out of 10. Comfort is our next category. Flying coasters are sometimes debated about being comfortable or not, as some riders may not enjoy the sensation of being pushed on their stomach or back. For enthusiasts though, any B&M flyer with the vest restraints will be a thrill, and the same can be said for Starry Sky Ripper. Of the people that have ridden it, I've heard only positive reviews, typical for B&M flyers. Comfort will receive a 9 out of 10. Our penultimate category is intensity. This flying coaster is one of the most intense. It's not a debate that Flying Dinosaur and Tatsu will be more intense, as they have much more extreme elements and bigger features than Starry Sky Ripper. However, the two overbanks in the final section of Starry Skyripper are graceful, but also tight, causing some positives. And guests cannot deny the Force's experience on that tight vertical loop. I've experienced Nighthawk and Firehawk's loops, and they are very intense and thrilling, and Starry Skyripper has that on a much bigger scale. Intensity gets a 7 out of 10. The final category is inversions. Of course, the inversions get a 9 out of 10. Starry Skyripper has 5 different inversions: the 2 fly-to-lies, the vertical loop, and the 2 rolls. All of these inversions have quick transitions and are very disorienting, and even some provide positives, specifically that massive loop. So what do I think of Starry Skyripper? I believe that this ride should be mentioned more. Starry Skyripper is a gargantuan upgrade from any American flyer except for Tatsu, which still looks better than that. It has a water feature, tight overbanks, disorienting rolls, and a steep drop. I want to ride this unique and amazing flying coaster one day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Comment what you think of Starry Skyripper and have a great rest of your day.